The universe is full of objects that drift, quietly, endlessly, without purpose. But this one, this frozen traveler from beyond our solar system, was not supposed to change its mind. For months, astronomers believed 3I, Atlas, would behave just like every interstellar visitor before it. A simple flyby, a cold, silent passage, a cosmic stranger leaving nothing behind but data points and speculation. But then, everything shifted. Late one unremarkable morning at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, a notification appeared on the James Webb Telescope's deep space feed. A shift. A deviation so small, it almost looked like sensor noise. Almost. Scientists stared at the numbers in disbelief. A change of less than 0.1 degrees, so tiny it could be dismissed in any normal context, but at interstellar velocities. Such a deviation means one thing: intention. Something had acted on 3I, Atlas, or something inside it had awakened. Dr. Ella Norwood was the first to speak. Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled ever so slightly. Objects of this scale don't just turn, she said. They don't correct course. They don't decelerate. Not unless something is steering them. The room went dead silent. Every heartbeat seemed to echo. Across the world, at China's Purple Mountain Observatory, confirmation arrived within minutes. Radar arrays detected a coordinated drop in speed, not random, not chaotic, but controlled, as if responding to an internal command. And then Dr. Hang Li whispered the words no one wanted to say out loud. It's as if it's alive. The statement rippled through the global scientific network. Within hours, NASA, ESA, and CNSA initiated an emergency tri-agency convergence, a protocol designed only for existential anomalies. Webb's infrared imaging was pushed to its limits. Hubble's optical sensors were retasked. Ground observatories across Chile locked onto the object with relentless precision. Then came the first reveal. Under the frozen surface of 3I Atlas, patterns emerged. Not random cracks, not geological stress fractures, but geometric alignment, straight lines, repeating angles. A lattice-like structure that did not belong to nature. Some lines stretched for hundreds of meters, visible only through enhanced imaging. Others formed perfect symmetry, the kind only intelligence produces. SETI immediately redirected every listening array and began sweeping every low-frequency band they had. Minutes passed, then an hour, then a pulse. Low, rhythmic, repeating with mathematical precision. Not noise, not background radiation. A signal, a pattern. Dr. Matteo Ricci stared at the oscillation graph on his screen. His throat tightened. This isn't an echo, he whispered. It's communicating, or at least transmitting. Meanwhile, Chinese analysts released enhanced thermal filter imagery. Beneath the icy crust, shapes appeared. Rigid, mechanical, sharp-edged structures arranged like internal chambers. Not an asteroid, not a comet, not a rock, a vessel. And then came the leak. Someone inside NASA's propulsion lab exposed classified data showing that 3I Atlas had slowed down by 12% in just 2 weeks. Not drifting, not tumbling, but maneuvering. Panic exploded online. Hashtags trended worldwide. Number Atlas approach. Number alien vessel number. Contact imminent. Governments released calm statements. But even through the scripted composure, fear bled through their voices. Behind closed doors, the Pentagon activated Sigma-7, a task force created only for scenarios involving non-human technology. Meanwhile, independent astronomers built their own trajectory models and confirmed the unthinkable. 3I Atlas was no longer a visitor passing by. It had changed course. It was matching Earth's orbit. It was pacing us, tracking us, watching us. And then JWST, Webb-detected heat. Not from the surface, not from reflected sunlight, but from deep inside the object. A pulse of thermal energy, as if something within had woken up, or begun to power on. The rhythm of the signal changed. The intervals shifted to prime numbers, a universal sign of intelligence. Around the world, magnetometers registered something terrifying. Earth's magnetic field began pulsing back, perfectly synchronized to the object's signal. It wasn't just approaching Earth. It was communicating with the planet itself. Dr. Norwood's voice cracked as she read the decoded outputs. It's learning us. And somewhere beyond the heliosphere, 3IATLAS drifted closer, still silent, massive, alive with patterns humanity had never seen. The Watchers, if they were Watchers at all, were no longer distant. They were nearly here. For days, the world tried to pretend everything was normal, but the sky had already changed ever so slightly. A faint moving point of light, drifting against the stars. Not fast, not chaotic, just purposeful. Astronomers confirmed what the public was slowly beginning to notice. 3IATLAS was matching Earth's velocity, moving parallel to us, shadowing our orbit like a silent guardian or a patient predator. Governments avoided the word contact, but they couldn't hide the truth any longer. Behind closed doors, world leaders formed Plan Aurora, a unified strategy involving communication, observation, and, secretly, planetary defense. But deep inside the global scientific community, the fear was turning into something else: curiosity. A sense that humanity had been waiting its entire existence for this moment. Webb's next transmission only amplified the mystery. Under extreme infrared filters, new formations became visible inside the object. Hexagonal voids, arranged with impossible symmetry, like honeycombs crafted by an alien engineer. They glowed faintly, not with heat, but with bioluminescence. Something inside was alive, or at least functioning. And then, without warning, JWST #2. Small fragments broke off from the main body. Transparent, thin, almost like petals of glass drifting outward in perfect formation. But these weren't debris. They moved with intention, orbiting the main object, forming a geometric shell. Spectral analysis revealed something that sent chills down every researcher's spine. The fragments contained organic compounds, not random molecules, not contamination, but structured biology cells embedded within crystalline lattice, as if the vessel itself had a living nervous system. Dr. Reiki at ESA stared at the data in disbelief. "It's a hybrid," he whispered. "A biomechanical organism. Part machine, part biology, part something else entirely." NASA analysts proposed a theory so bold it bordered on insanity. 3IATLAS might be a seed ship, a vessel designed to carry life across interstellar distances. Suddenly, the phrase from the mysterious signal, "the seed returns to the soil," no longer sounded poetic. It sounded literal. Something had been here before, left something behind, and now was coming back for it. Ancient historians, reviewing newly digitized Sumerian tablets, made a chilling connection. The direction in the sky from which 3IATLAS arrived matched the ancient symbol of the Anunnaki, the Watchers, described as returning from the region of Lyra. The same region 3IATLAS had entered our system from. Coincidence? No one could say, but the alignment of myth and astrophysics made even the most skeptical scientists uneasy. Meanwhile, SETI doubled its efforts, transmitting carefully constructed mathematical sequences back toward the object. Prime numbers, constant ratios, Fibonacci spirals, geometric echoes of its own signal. For hours, nothing. Then a response. A single rotation, small, precise, undeniable. Humanity had sent a message, and the object had answered. Cameras worldwide now tracked it nightly. Amateur astronomers captured images showing unusual glimmers along its surface, reflections bending like fluid, as if the object were subtly reshaping itself. Military analysts sounded the alarm. If this thing could adapt its surface, if it could alter structure at will, then no model on Earth could predict what it was capable of. But the public? They felt something different. Awe, fear, hope. A sense that history had already split in two: the time before we knew we weren't alone, and the time after. Then, on a silent Tuesday morning, Webb detected something impossible. A burst. An energy spike 400 times stronger than any previous emission. For 4.2 seconds, every telescope watching the object went blind. When the sensors came back online, 3IATLAS was closer. Too close. It had moved 0.02 astronomical units in minutes, a distance no known propulsion could cover, not without ripping itself apart. Unless it wasn't using propulsion, unless it was bending the space around itself. And then the signal changed again. Gone were the pulses. Gone were the intervals. Instead, a new pattern emerged. A frequency sweep, descending steadily, until it matched Earth's magnetic field exactly. It wasn't just synchronizing, it was locking on. Dr. Norwood stared at the screen, her voice barely a whisper. It's choosing us. Humanity had always wondered what first contact would look like. A message? A ship landing? A beacon from another star? No one predicted this a silent vessel older than recorded history, entering our orbit, aligning itself with our planet's magnetic heartbeat, as if preparing for something. Something enormous, something imminent, something we were not ready for. And far above the planet, drifting like a single glowing eye in the dark 3I, Atlas waited. For days, the world tried to pretend everything was normal. But the sky had already changed, ever so slightly. A faint moving point of light, drifting against the stars. Not fast, not chaotic, just purposeful. Astronomers confirmed what the public was slowly beginning to notice. 3I Atlas was matching Earth's velocity, moving parallel to us, shadowing our orbit like a silent guardian or a patient predator. Governments avoided the word contact, but they couldn't hide the truth any longer. Behind closed doors, world leaders formed Plan Aurora, a unified strategy involving communication, observation, and, secretly, planetary defense. But deep inside the global scientific community, the fear was turning into something else: curiosity. A sense that humanity had been waiting its entire existence for this moment. Webb's next transmission only amplified the mystery. Under extreme infrared filters, new formations became visible inside the object. Hexagonal voids, arranged with impossible symmetry, like honeycombs crafted by an alien engineer. They glowed faintly, not with heat, but with bioluminescence. Something inside was alive, or at least functioning. And then, without warning, twist #2, small fragments broke off from the main body. Transparent, thin, almost like petals of glass drifting outward in perfect formation. But these weren't debris. They moved with intention, orbiting the main object, forming a geometric shell. Spectral analysis revealed something that sent chills down every researcher's spine. The fragments contained organic compounds, not random molecules, not contamination, but structured biology cells embedded within crystalline lattice, as if the vessel itself had a living nervous system. Dr. Raichi at ESA stared at the data in disbelief. "It's a hybrid," he whispered, "a biomechanical organism, part machine, part biology, part something else entirely." NASA analysts proposed a theory so bold it bordered on insanity. 3IATLAS might be a seed ship, a vessel designed to carry life across interstellar distances. Suddenly, the phrase from the mysterious signal, "the seed returns to the soil," no longer sounded poetic. It sounded literal. Something had been here before, left something behind, and now it was coming back for it. Ancient historians, reviewing newly digitized Sumerian tablets, made a chilling connection. The direction in the sky from which 3IATLAS arrived matched the ancient symbol of the Anunnaki, the Watchers, described as returning from the region of Lyra, the same region 3IATLAS had entered our system from. Coincidence? No one could say. But the alignment of myth and astrophysics made even the most skeptical scientists uneasy. Meanwhile, SETI doubled its efforts, transmitting carefully constructed mathematical sequences back toward the object. Prime numbers, constant ratios, Fibonacci spirals, geometric echoes of its own signal. For hours, nothing. Then a response. A single rotation. Small, precise, undeniable. Humanity had sent a message, and the object had answered. Cameras worldwide now tracked it nightly. Amateur astronomers captured images showing unusual glimmers along its surface, reflections bending like fluid, as if the object were subtly reshaping itself. Military analysts sounded the alarm. If this thing could adapt its surface, if it could alter structure at will, then no model on Earth could predict what it was capable of. But the public, they felt something different. Awe, fear, hope. A sense that history had already split into the time before we knew we weren't alone, and the time after. Then, on a silent Tuesday morning, Webb detected something impossible. A burst. An energy spike 400 times stronger than any previous emission. For 4.2 seconds, every telescope watching the object went blind. When the sensors came back online, 3IATLAS was closer. Too close. It had moved 0.02 astronomical units in minutes, a distance no known propulsion could cover, not without ripping itself apart. Unless it wasn't using propulsion. Unless it was bending the space around itself. And then, the signal changed again. Gone were the pulses. Gone were the intervals. Instead, a new pattern emerged. A frequency sweep, descending steadily, until it matched Earth's magnetic field exactly. It wasn't just synchronizing. It was locking on. Doctor. Norwood stared at the screen, her voice barely a whisper. It's choosing us. Humanity had always wondered what first contact would look like. A message? A ship landing? A beacon from another star? No one predicted this, a silent vessel older than recorded history, entering our orbit, aligning itself with our planet's magnetic heartbeat, as if preparing for something enormous, something imminent, something we were not ready for. And far above the planet, drifting like a single glowing eye in the dark 3IATLAS waited. For the first time since the signal began, Earth had a destination. A set of coordinates sharp, deliberate, unmistakable, pointing not to our planet, not to the moon, but to a lonely region deep in the asteroid belt. A place no probe had ever mapped in detail. A place with no known structures, no anomalies, no recorded history. And yet, the coordinates repeated over and over, embedded in the pulse like a command. Dr. Norwood paced before the global broadcast panel. Her voice was steady, but her eyes betrayed the truth. "We're being instructed," she said. "Not threatened, not warned. Directed." Her words rippled through every scientific institution on Earth. Directed toward what? A forgotten relic? A dormant device? A long-buried companion to 3IATLAS? Or something far more terrifying? A message left for whoever returned. Space agencies scrambled resources. Within 48 hours, 3 probes were retasked and reprogrammed for the new trajectory. SpaceX volunteered a modified Starlink booster. ESA sent the Leto 3 Spectre flyer. China armed its Orion Sentinel with deep penetration radar. Humanity, for the first time, was answering back with action instead of fear. But as preparations surged, 3IATLAS reacted. Its luminous petals retracted, pulling tight around the central core like a protective shell. Its surface patterns changed, shifting from fluid glimmers into rigid glyph-like structures that pulsed in slow, deliberate intervals. Symbols, rhythms, mathematics shaped into light. Dr. Reiki, staring at the waveform overlay, whispered, "It's preparing for something. A transition, a shift." But no one knew what that shift meant until the temperature rose. Webb's thermal instruments recorded a spike so intense that for a moment scientists feared the object was destabilizing. But it wasn't breaking apart. It was awakening. The hexagonal cavities flashed one after another like neurons firing in a colossal, ancient brain. A cascade of internal motion triggered a wave of trembling across its surface, not a malfunction. A reaction. Then, without warning, it emitted a burst of particles. Not radiation, not debris. Particles containing organic signatures. Scientists froze. Organic,
got eyes on the target.
but not alive. Not
Maintain
cells,
trajectory.
not microbes. Something more primitive, something older. Primitive genetic fragments wrapped in crystalline dust. A biological breadcrumb trail. Dr. Hang's voice shook. This looks like early RNA. Ancient, synthetic, as if it's showing us what it carries. The implications hit humanity like a tidal wave. Was this vessel carrying life? Seeding life? Transporting the building blocks of biology across galaxies? Was this how worlds like Earth began? Religions exploded with interpretations. Mythologists claimed validation. Scientists argued through the night. And still, the object drifted silently beside Earth, its new pulse forming a steady, unsettling heartbeat. But the next discovery silenced everything. Twist #4 the memory inside the signal. While decoding harmonic layers in the object's latest pulses, CERN analysts found something unexpected. A nested pattern hidden beneath prime sequences. Not math, not physics. A double helix, a representation of DNA. Human DNA, embedded with cosmic coordinates, tracing back thousands of years. It wasn't just broadcasting data. It was returning information it had already collected. As if 3IATLAS had been here before. As if it had studied life on Earth long before humanity ever saw the stars. As if it knew us. Dr. Norwood felt her breath leave her chest. It's reflecting our genetic profile back at us, but incomplete. It's missing something. A missing segment, a gap. One that matched no known human genome. No primate, no archaic species. A segment absent from Earth entirely. A segment that belonged not here, but somewhere else. Was it a request? A warning? A clue to origins humanity had forgotten? Or a call to reconnect a lineage separated by cosmic time? No one had answers. Only questions stacking like stars in a darkening sky. And then the tone changed again. A rising note, gentle, warm, almost melodic, vibrating through Earth's ionosphere, as if the planet itself were singing back. Cities felt the hum in their skyscrapers. Animals lifted their heads. Power grids flickered like candles in wind. And 3IATLAS, brighter now than ever, began to rotate toward the Sunday, not fleeing, not attacking, aligning with purpose. And humanity realized, with a dread that felt like awe, this was only the beginning. The shift toward the sun was subtle, a gentle rotation, barely a tilt, like a flower turning toward warmth. But for scientists watching the telemetry in real time, that slight adjustment felt like a scream. Objects of this size don't turn so gracefully. They drift, they tumble, they obey physics. Unless they're being guided, unless they're alive. Within minutes of the tilt, solar observatories around the world detected a new phenomenon. Filaments of charged plasma streaming from the object's trailing edge. Not random, not chaotic. These filaments formed spirals, thin streams of glowing particles curving in perfect logarithmic patterns, like the arms of a galaxy in miniature. Dr. Reiki stared at the data. "This shouldn't be possible," he whispered. "No natural object can manipulate plasma like this." Then he caught his breath. Unless it's using the sun as a power source. The idea spread like fire across every control room on Earth. Was the object refueling, recharging, communicating with the star? Or worse, awakening something dormant? Whatever the answer was, the reaction
Breaking
happened
news from
instantly.
the world of science.
Solar
Interstellar
activity
object
shifted.
3I
Magnetic field
Atlas
lines near the
has
sun recoiled just
unexpectedly
slightly,
changed
as
its
if responding to the
trajectory.
presence
This
of
just
something
in,
recognized.
a strange
Something that
interstellar
wasn't
object
foreign,
has
but
changed
familiar.
course,
A forgotten
and experts
interaction
are
between
unable
star
to
and vessel.
explain why.
Meanwhile, back on
We are
Earth,
getting
the
reports
first
that the
probe
object has
ESA's
now entered a
LETO-3 finally reached the
geostationary
coordinates
orbit
given
and
by
is holding position at
3IATLAS.
550
The moment it
lux.
arrived, the probe's sensors froze, then glitched, then restarted on their own. Not because of interference, but because it had detected something. From millions of kilometers away, scientists watched as LETO-3 seconds onboard cameras flickered and resolved into a stable image. A shadow, a shape, a structure, artificial, angular, buried within an asteroid that had appeared unremarkable for decades. A monolith, smooth, metallic, half-exposed, piercing through the rock as if the asteroid had grown around it. The room fell into stunned silence. It was real. Something had been hidden there for thousands, maybe millions of years, and humanity had never known. Closer scans revealed markings on its surface, straight lines, branching patterns, and fractal geometry, mimicking the internal lattice structures of 3IATLAS. A match. A direct match. The vessel orbiting Earth and the monolith within the asteroid belt were pieces of the same design. Companions, parts of a larger construct, fragments of a mission older than human civilization. When LETO-3 attempted to transmit a high-resolution scan, the unthinkable occurred. 3IATLAS reacted instantly. Its pulse pattern accelerated. Its bioluminescent cavities flared. Its luminous petals extended outward like wings unfolding after eons of stillness. A deep harmonic note vibrated through the ionosphere. In control rooms worldwide,
we're seeing a slight
scientists
elevation,
clutched their
around
headphones as
45
instruments
counts per
trembled
minute,
under the
but it's
resonance.
well below any
The
safety
signal
limits.
wasn't chaotic. It wasn't random. It was a call to the monolith. And the monolith, buried in silence for an age, answered. A faint glow appeared along its surface. Then another, then another. Glyphs lit up like awakening neurons, each symbol pulsing in perfect synchrony with 3IATLAS. For the first time in recorded history, humanity was watching a conversation between two non-human structures across millions of kilometers of space. But the most shocking moment came next. Twist #5, the message wasn't for them. It was for us. LETO-3 seconds audio feed captured something unexpected, a soft vibration rising within the monolith, translating into a faint tonal sequence. Not noise. Speech. Rhythmic, deliberate, layered with meaning. NASA's signal analysis team isolated the pattern. It was faint, distorted, ancient. But when the sequence was stabilized, a single phrase emerged. A phrase spoken in a voice that was mechanical yet eerily familiar. A phrase the vessel had already transmitted once. The seed returns to the soil. The monolith repeated it, then added something new. A second line fragmented, trembling as if awakening from an impossible sleep. The soil is not complete. The transmission cut. The monolith fell silent. Leto 3 went dark, and humanity realized the horrifying possibility. The vessel wasn't returning to claim something. It was returning because something on Earth was missing. Something it expected, something it needed, something we might not even know existed. And now both the Monolith and 3IATLAS were waiting for Earth to answer. The silence that followed felt heavier than any signal. The Monolith had spoken, 3IATLAS had answered, and Earth for the first time felt like an intruder. For hours, global command centers were paralyzed. No transmissions went out, no probes moved, no governments issued statements. Humanity simply listened to the deafening absence of sound. What did it mean the soil is not complete? What was missing? What had Earth once held that this cosmic vessel expected to find? Dr. Norwood, exhausted after 40 hours without rest, finally broke the silence. We've always assumed this was a first encounter, she said. But what if it isn't? What if something visited Earth long before human history? And now, whatever it left behind, whatever it planted is gone. Her words hit the scientific community like a gravitational collapse, because the genetic fragment, the missing segment embedded in the vessel's earlier signal, still had no match on Earth. No living species carried it. No fossil record showed it. No ancient genome hinted at it. It belonged to something that wasn't here anymore, or something that had not yet arrived. But the mystery deepened even further when Leto 3 suddenly reactivated. Not completely, just for 3 seconds. Long enough to send one final image. A blurry, corrupted frame captured moments before the probe died. But the outline was unmistakable. A humanoid silhouette etched onto the surface of the monolith, its arms extended in a gesture halfway between welcome and warning. The room froze. Human, alien, symbolic, none of the interpretations made sense. But beneath the silhouette, analysts discovered a pattern, a sequence of repeating triangles forming a downward spiral. A symbol almost identical to carvings found in ancient Mesopotamian ruins, a symbol associated with the Skywatchers and the mythic return of starborn teachers. Patterns across time, patterns across space, patterns that refused to be coincidence. And then, everything escalated. Twist #6, Earth's magnetic field responds. At 241 UTC, magnetometers from Greenland to South Africa recorded a sudden oscillation. A ripple moving through Earth's magnetic field with precision and timing identical to 3IATLAS pulses. The planet wasn't being influenced, it was being tuned. Animals reacted first. Birds abandoned typical migration routes. Whales surfaced in unison. Dogs across continents began howling at the same moment, as if hearing a tone too low for humans to detect. Then came the atmospheric response. Thin bands of light, red, blue, violet appeared around the equator, arcing like massive auroras where auroras should never form. Scientists had no explanation. Auroras do not form near the equator. They require polar magnetic lines. But Earth's magnetic system, normally stable, grounded, was shifting into a new configuration. A configuration matching the harmonic frequency sent by the vessel. Dr. Hang stared at the live data stream. It's trying to synchronize us, she whispered. Or stabilize us. Or prepare us. Those were the 3 theories. None of them were comforting. Then, as if on cue, 3IATLAS emitted a new series of pulses.
In the room.
Short, sharp, repetitive. A pattern
What is
resembling
the deal with
a
that
countdown.
thing?
Not numbers, not symbols. A sequence of decreasing intervals between each pulse. Time shrinking. Approach accelerating. Something was coming, or something was about to begin. Global agencies issued red alerts. Air traffic paused. Satellites were reoriented.
Let's make sure we
Deep
have
space
everything we
network
need for our
stations
mission.
activated every channel
We will
they
start
had.
with a rock.
But nothing could prepare humanity for the next revelation. The monolith activates. The buried structure. The silent, ancient monolith suddenly began to glow again. Not faintly, brilliantly. Its entire outer shell pulsed in waves of deep gold and harsh blue colors, known from no natural cosmic process. Then an energy beam, thin, concentrated, shot upward from the monolith into the void, straight toward 3IATLAS. Across millions of kilometers, the vessel responded.
Today
Its
we will
petals
explore
unfurled.
the theory of
Its
global
chambers brightened.
magnetospheric response
Its inner core
and its
pulsed faster and
implications
faster
on the
until the whole structure
This is
glowed
the
like a
global
star being
magnetospheric
born. This was
response
communication,
from
not
the Monolith
metaphorical,
network
but literal.
activation
Two
event.
parts of the same architecture speaking across the solar system
Now, if
after
you look
millennia of
closely at the
silence.
globe,
But
you
the
can
final
see how the
blow, the
Monolith
moment that
network
shattered
connects
every
all
assumption, came
across our
from an
planet.
unexpected source. A small observatory in Argentina. A single astronomer watching the sky alone. He witnessed something no satellite had caught yet. Not light, not motion, but shadows. Shadows cast from 3IATLAS, shifting across the stars as if something inside it was moving. Large, complex, deliberate. The astronomer sent one message before his equipment fried under the sudden electromagnetic surge. It's opening. Whatever was inside the vessel was beginning to emerge, and the countdown pulses kept getting faster. Humanity had run out of time. The first sign that something had truly changed was the silence. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of perfect stillness in the data. For almost 20 minutes, 3IATLAS stopped emitting pulses entirely. Every
We're
telescope,
looking at a civilization
every listening array,
far more
every
advanced than our
satellite
own.
locked on its position reported the same impossible reading. A vessel of immeasurable age and complexity had become absolutely motionless. No rotation, no thermal fluctuations, no electromagnetic leakage. Nothing. It was like the universe was holding its breath. Dr. Norwood leaned over the console, her voice barely audible. This isn't a malfunction. It's anticipation. Then, without warning, the petals of the vessel opened fully, not drifting, not unfolding, blooming, like a colossal cosmic flower that had waited thousands of years for this exact moment. The inner core was exposed, a sphere of translucent material glowing from its depths, with
And this
shifting layers
unusual
of
band
blue,
of air glow
white,
was
and
recently
faint
discovered
crimson.
just above the
Inside it,
atmosphere.
silhouettes moved, slow,
Unusual in global
deliberate,
bands, air
massive,
glow optical
not
bands.
humanoid, not mechanical, not anything humanity
Monolith
had ever
network
imagined.
activation.
Shapes like elongated
Scientific
limbs,
findings.
branching structures, a network of interlinked forms glowing with faint
The
bioluminescent
Monolith
veins.
network activation
Alive but
has
not
yielded
alive
scientific
in any
findings
earthly
beyond
sense.
our wildest
Every
expectations.
observatory that captured the
Today,
moment
we'll unveil
reported the
the key
same reaction
discoveries.
among their staff. Fear and awe fused into one. Meanwhile, back in the asteroid belt, the Monolith responded. Its beam intensified
The comet
thin
was
at
only the
first,
beginning.
then widening into a luminous column that stretched miles through space.
They found
Particles
something else.
inside the beam
A
spiraled
network.
upward in fractal patterns identical to the
Hey, check this
geometry
out. It says
inside
we're trending.
3IATLAS. A link, a
No
bridge,
way, are you
a channel
serious?
between two artifacts that had been separated longer than humanity had existed.
So we
And
believe
then
we're
the
dealing with a
vibrations
global
began.
network, and that
Earth
these
felt them
signals are
first,
not
a low
random.
hum
They show
rolling
us.
across tectonic plates and echoing through the atmosphere like
The
the heartbeat
monoliths
of
are
a
not
sleeping
just
giant.
objects.
Power
They
grids
are a
flickered.
network.
Radio towers resonated.
To ensure
Every
everyone
compass
feels
on
comfortable
Earth
sharing
turned
their
1
thoughts,
degree west
let's
in
start with a
perfect
quick
unison.
check-in.
At the same moment,
How is
the
everyone
object
feeling
inside
today?
3I
The
Atlas
issue is
finally
more
became
complex
clear.
than it appears.
Webb sharpened its focus.
We must
Layers of
consider all
interference
the
peeled
historical
back.
precedents
The
before
glowing
we
forms
proceed.
resolved into something coherent. Not a creature, not a machine, a matrix. A living computational lattice stretching across the vessel's interior,
Reveal the
pulsing
truth.
like synchronized neurons. A consciousness distributed across the entire structure. Not an AI, not organic life. Something in between.
Are we on the
Something
brink of
older.
the greatest discovery
Something that
in
was
human
never
history?
meant to exist alone.
Or the greatest
Doctor.
delusion?
Saidi stared at the waveforms, his voice trembling. It's waking up its counterpart. Because in the monolith, the one buried in an asteroid, forgotten by time, the newly illuminated glyphs aligned into the same neural patterns seen inside the vessel. Two halves of a mind split across space, now reconnected. But none of this, not the awakening, not the synchronization, not the Earth-wide resonance, prepared humanity for what happened next. Twist #7, the final signal, is directed at Earth. At 5:12 UTC, a new pulse erupted from 3IATLAS. Not toward the Sunday, not toward the monolith. Toward Earth. A narrowband transmission so precise it sliced through the ionosphere like a needle of light. Every radio, every satellite, every communications network went dark for 3 full seconds. Then a single visual pattern flashed across the deep space network. A spiral, a double helix, a lattice. Human DNA, again but altered. A corrected version. A version containing the missing segment that Earth no longer carried. A version that did not belong to humanity as it exists now. CERN decrypted the metadata.
The seed is prepared.
Dr. Hang read the translation out loud, her voice breaking on the final line. It's not a threat. It's an instruction. It's telling us, reconstruct the original. A chilling possibility dawned on everyone in the room. Humanity was not the first version of its own blueprint. Something had come before. Something had been removed, or lost, or erased. And now the vessel had come back to finish what was started, or to restore what had been broken. The final waveform from the vessel before the part ended was a soft, rising hum, almost melodic, almost mournful. A tone that seemed to say, "We have returned. Now you must decide." Humanity stood at the edge of an ancient question older than civilization itself. And 3IATLAS waited in orbit, open, alive, and expecting an answer. For the next several hours, the world existed in a strange duality, absolute terror and absolute stillness. Every global communication network remained partially crippled. Satellites flickered in and out of sync. Data streams lagged, looped, or dissolved into static. And in orbit 3IATLAS floated silently, petals open, core exposed, glowing like a star that refused to fully ignite. It wasn't attacking. It wasn't advancing. It was waiting. But waiting for what? A response? A reconstruction? A species to remember what it was before it became human? Dr. Norwood refused to sit.
I've got
She
eyes
stood
on
in
the
front of
target.
the main screen,
Maintain
hands
trajectory.
clasped behind her back, watching the vessel rotate ever so slightly toward Earth's night side. "It's studying the dark," she murmured. "Our lights, our cities, our choices." And she wasn't wrong. Infrared imaging showed the vessel mapping every thermal signature on Earth, from the poles to the equator to the smallest towns hidden in mountain shadows. It was building a picture of what humanity had become. Across the planet, crowds gathered in streets and rooftops. People stared upward at the faint moving glimmer that didn't belong to the sky. Some prayed, some wept, some whispered to the heavens, hoping the watchers were benevolent. But in the Pentagon, fear took a different shape. Under classified authorization, Sigma-7 initiated a silent protocol, deploying orbital interceptors to close defensive positions. Not an attack, just a posture. A warning, a way of saying, "We are not helpless." But the vessel noticed. Almost instantly, its core brightened not aggressively, but unmistakably responding to the shifting mass of metal and electronics surrounding Earth. Dr. Saidi slammed his fist on the console. Shut it down. Shut every interceptor down. It's reading them as a threat. But it was too late. The harmonics changed. A deeper resonance. A slower frequency. A tone that vibrated across the thermosphere and into Earth's crust. A tone that felt disappointed. Like a parent watching a child repeat the same ancient mistakes. Then a new message. This time, not a pulse. Not a waveform. Not a symbol. A projection. A holographic pattern broadcast across wavelengths, visible only through multi-spectrum cameras. The image assembled itself piece by piece. A star field, a series of spirals, a branching tree-like lattice, a humanoid silhouette, and finally, a cradle. A cosmic cradle. A diagram showing star systems, ancient pathways, and a single glowing point connected directly to Earth. Humanity had not been chosen randomly. It had been part of a plan. A plan older than our
Pattern
species,
detected.
older
Prime
than our
number
myths,
sequence.
older than the rise of civilization. And the missing genetic fragment, the piece 3IATLAS, demanded we reconstruct, was part of that plan. A blueprint of something humanity was supposed to become, but never did. Or something humanity used to be, before time, extinction, or intervention cut the lineage apart. The realization echoed across every command center. This was not a threat. It was a correction, a restoration. A return to an ancient design we no longer understood. Then the glow in the vessel's core shifted again. Not bright, not violent. Just a single, sharp pulse straight down toward the Earth. At that exact second, seismic sensors activated worldwide. Not earthquakes, not tremors. A perfect synchronized vibration felt on every continent at the same instant. A message delivered not to our technology, not to our satellites, but directly into the planet itself. Dr. Hang's face went pale. It's using Earth's crust as a communication medium. She stepped closer to the display, whispering, "It's telling us where to look." Coordinates lit up across the global geologic grid. Not one location. Nine sites across the world. Ancient fault lines, buried caverns, forgotten ruins, each one tied to myths of those who taught mankind. The vibration repeated, more urgent this time. And 3IATLAS petals began to fold as if preparing to enter another phase of its mission. Something was coming. something inevitable, something Earth could not stop.
Breaking news from
And
the world
as
of
the last
science.
pulse
Interstellar
quieted,
object
a chilling
3I
truth settled over
Atlas
humanity
has
like a shadow.
unexpectedly
The
changed
vessel had
its
not come to
trajectory.
destroy
This
us.
just in.
It had
a
come to
strange
finish what it
interstellar
started.
object
Whatever
has
that meant,
changed
whatever the
course,
original
and
blueprint
experts are
truly
unable
was,
to explain
humanity was
why.
standing at the edge of an
We are
ancient
getting
destiny
reports that the
it
object
never
has
knew
now
it carried.
entered a geostationary orbit
3IATLAS
and is holding
hovered
position
above,
at
silent,
550
glowing,
lux.
watching, waiting for us to take the next step. The coordinates would not stop pulsing. 9 points, 9 ancient sites, 9 wounds in the
We
Earth that
interrupt this
seemed to
program
awaken
for a
all at
special
once.
news
At
bulletin.
first, governments assumed it was a geological
unidentified
glitch
signal
sensor
has been
from the
detected.
electromagnetic interference the vessel was causing. But then the world began to respond. The first site was in the deserts of Iraq, near the supposed tomb of Gilgamesh. Seismic instruments reported an impossibly clean harmonic vibration rising from beneath the sand. Not a tremor, not a quake. A resonant frequency identical to the pulse from 3IATLAS. At the same moment, thousands of kilometers away, deep beneath the ice of Antarctica, another site echoed the same tone. A perfect mirror in pitch, timing, and intensity. Then a cavern in Peru, a submerged ruin off the coast of India, an obsidian chamber buried beneath the Ethiopian plateau. No communication between them, no geological connection. Yet all 9 sang the same frequency. Humanity had always wondered why ancient cultures built their civilizations on the same geometries, aligned their monuments to the same stars, etched the same symbols into stone. Maybe it wasn't coincidence. Maybe it was memory. A memory inherited, not learned. A memory now being reawakened. The awakening spreads. As the 9 sites vibrated, the sky above them changed. The air shimmered like heat distortion.
We're seeing
in
a
dead
slight
winter.
elevation,
Clouds
around
parted in
45 counts per
spirals.
minute, but
Birds
it's well
scattered
below
in
any
chaotic
safety
patterns.
limits.
Their navigation shattered. Animals grew restless. Children cried without understanding why. Adults felt an ancient instinct pressing against the back of their minds, a warning or a calling. Then the frequencies shifted. Each site began emitting a secondary harmonic, a rising tone that synchronized with the descending pulse from 3I. 2 melodies, 2 halves of the same pattern, like a lock and a key. Dr. Norwood stared at the overlapping waveforms, her voice brittle, declining. Earth's 9 sites, and the vessel. She swallowed hard. Something ancient is being activated. The world reacts. In New York, crowds gathered around screens as emergency alerts flashed without explanation. In Tokyo, traffic halted as people pointed upward at the faint glowing arc drifting across the stars. In Cairo, imams called for calm. In Rome, church bells rang without anyone touching them. Humanity stood at the threshold of a moment older than civilization itself. And then 3IATLAS unfolded. Not the petals, not the core, the entire structure. Panels retracting, rings rotating, segments shifting in a choreography so complex no human machine could hope to mimic it. The vessel elongated its central core, stretching into a spear of light that pointed directly toward Earth. A beam did not fire. A weapon did not activate. Instead, a map appeared, projected across space. Visible from orbit, captured by every telescope, a cosmic starfield, layered with symbols. And at the center, a silhouette matching the humanoid carving on the monolith. A figure with elongated limbs, a luminous spinal core, and eyes represented by spirals of light. It wasn't an alien. It wasn't a god. It was a template, a genetic model, a blueprint. The original form the vessel demanded we reconstruct. Doctor, it nearly collapsed. It's not asking us to change, she said. It's asking us to remember. The signal intensified. Without warning, the 9 sites erupted. Not with explosions, not with light, with information. Streams of energy flowed upward from each location, not beams, but spiraling data currents, visible only through high-spectrum sensors. They carried the same molecular sequences found in the vessel's corrected DNA pattern. A global release of something ancient, something forgotten. Something meant to merge with what the vessel carried. Doctor, Saidi whispered. It's completing the network. It's rebuilding whatever was here before. But humanity wasn't ready for a global revelation. Because as the 9 beams linked together across the atmosphere, forming a geometric lattice that circled the Earth 3I,
I've isolated
ATLAS
12
responded
energy
with its brightest
signatures
pulse
across the
yet.
globe.
A pulse so powerful it bypassed technology entirely. Every human felt it. A vibration in the bones. a whisper behind the eyes, a memory that didn't belong to this lifetime. A voice ancient, mechanical, and heartbreakingly calm. The seed is prepared. And then the tone changed. A rising hum, faster, sharper, more urgent. Not a call, not a message. A countdown. 3IATLAS was counting down to something humanity could not interpret. A return, a transformation, a reunion. The vessel's petals glowed. Its core blazed white. Its internal lattice pulsed like a living star. And all across the world, the 9 ancient sites answered the countdown in perfect synchronicity. Something was coming, something inevitable, something Earth could not refuse. The countdown reached its final harmonics. A rising pulse higher, sharper, tighter, until every structure on Earth vibrated with the same impossible note. The 9 beams converged. The vessel's core ignited, and for one heartbeat, the entire solar system felt still. Not quiet, not calm, still, then a flash, not of light, but of memory. A wave swept across the planet, washing through oceans, mountains, cities, and minds, a resonance older than humanity itself. And in that wave, every person on Earth felt the same impossible sensation. For a moment, they weren't alone inside the clouds. Something stood behind the human mind, not violent, just watching, recognizing, comparing what we are to what we were meant to be. A presence, faint, ancient, patient. Then it vanished. The beams collapsed into silence. The 9 sites went dark. The vibration stopped. And in orbit, 3IATLAS folded its petals slowly, elegantly, like a creature lowering its head after finishing its task. Earth's skies cleared. Stars returned. The world exhaled. But no one felt relief, because the vessel had not left. It remained in orbit pacing Earth, as if evaluating what we did with the gift or the
We
warning
have to address the
it had just
monolith in the
delivered.
room.
And Webb captured one final transmission, a low
What is the
whisper,
deal with that
so
thing?
soft even machines struggled to hear it. A whisper that chilled every scientist who decoded it. PHASE-1, complete. Phase 1. Meaning, there is a Phase 2 and a Phase 3. And something waiting on the other end of a plan older than every civilization humanity ever
Let's
built.
make sure we have
3I.
everything we need for our mission.
Atlas drifted into
We will
Earth's
start
shadow,
with a rock.
its glowing core dimming until only a faint ring of pale blue light remained. Watching. Silent. For the first time in human history, we were no longer observers of the universe. We were participants in something vast, something deliberate, something eternal. The seed had been awakened, and whatever came next was already on its way.